soldier. Airborne infantry, which is a cut above. We met the first time in December of 1965. I was a young soldier, straight out of infantry, AIT, straight to jump school, and straight to Vietnam. As a matter of fact, I never saw an M16 before they gave me one at the first cab and told me to go shoot people with it. And I don't know if I ever did shoot anybody with it. I shot at them, I don't know if I ever shot one. But we all shot at them alive back then. I was assigned to David's machine gun crew at the end of January, which was a good thing. Because when you're in a machine gun crew, you have 3 or 4 people. And we're close people because we got to share in the foxholes, got to share our duties together. The work was hard. We had extra stuff that we had to carry as the extra barrel and all the equipment that goes with being on a machine gun crew. Plus a lot of ammo for the gun itself and our own ammo for our personal stuff. So being on the machine gun crew was a lot of hard work. When you stopped in the night, you had to dig 3 foxholes and a pearl jump. For a machine gun crew, machine gun pit, had a foxhole this way, and this way, and you set the machine gun in the middle. So there's a lot of digging. And then a prone shelter for 3 people, one was awake, 3 people were crouching. Prone shelter was approximately this deep and about 3 feet wide per person. So that you could lay down and sleep at night, and if you had indirect fire come in, you were kind of protected. So it was a lot of work. But one thing on the machine gun crew that you had, the other 4 people in the 2-man foxholes, you got a lot of extra sleep. And folks, let me tell you, when you're in the field in Vietnam, sleep is precious. You get 3 or 4 hours sleep a night, it's broke up into 1 and 2 hour increments. You leave for a bunch of cranky people the next day. And I guarantee you that most of us were very, very cranky. Now, David had a nickname. We really don't know where it comes from. I've talked with everybody, and they, one person says it came from here, but I think he had that nickname before he got to Vietnam. That's my opinion, but that's a 45-year-old memory. But he was proud of that nickname. This was Mad Dog, and he used it until he died. Now, David was a nice, big, healthy guy, active in sports and in high school and stuff. Told me this, and he was just perfectly fitted for an M60. That was a little heavier weapon than most, and he had that like us smaller guys would have on M16. He was perfectly suited for it. He was really proud. One time, the brigade commander was visiting us while we were in the field on patrol, and he saw David in his patrol boat, carrying the M60, and he commented favorably to the company commander, saying, "Hey, now that man has combat savvy." And I promise you, I never heard that word before that day, and I've used the word savvy the rest of my life. I like it. I like a good, clean word. But David was really proud that brigade commander took the time to tell the company commander that he had combat savvy. And he did. I promise you. He was a good leader. He knew the M60. He knew what he was supposed to do in a combat situation with it and with his people. Now, David was a very sincere, a strong believer in the combat disciplines. And I promise you, he was quick to praise you if you did good, but he'd chastise you too. Because he chastised me at least twice that I know of, and I had to get up off the ground when he got done with it. he was pretty good about that. But let's say we were young people, both 19 years old. Me and him both were born in 1946. So when we'd sit there in the evenings after we got all our preparation made for the night, we'd have an hour or 2 of downtime where we talked about the operation, what was expected of us, what we thought was going to happen, but then we drifted back and talked, young people talk. What our hopes were for the future. Then we talked about girls and drinking. And then we talked about home. Now home was special to all of us. And when you're overseas, I promise you, home is special. For a young soldier, you remember mom, dad, high school, and you talked about this stuff. David was very, very proud of most Pennsylvania and this region. He talked about it a lot. And then we talk about girls and drinking some more. Well, we were 19 years old, so when you talk about girls and drinking, mostly we lied about it. But being young airborne soldiers, we had to be, we were good in that department. But, matter of fact, David, and this name has stuck with me, for 45 years. He mentioned one lady in particular quite often because I asked it, Verna. And did I pronounce it right that time?
Verna.
Verna. And he mentioned her, and I never forgot her. And I got to meet her today, and it was a joy to be able to meet you. But I'll say, that's where he kicked me on the butt. Now David was a generous man. He'd get care packages from home. Now, a care package is a loved one or somebody that you sent you a care package. And most of the time it contained goodies, sweets. Now, I don't know why these old airborne soldiers like sweets, but if you got a care package, I promise you hoarded all that sweets for yourself. David never did. He shared that stuff with us, which made a lasting impression on me. Everybody else is one. No, that's my sweets. But he shared his stuff. So he was generous. Sweets were scarce in there. And we got our sweets in the sea rations, but whoever ate sea rations, no one ate the same as homemade cookies and candies and stuff from the stove. We served together under very brutal and dangerous conditions, sharing our ambitions and our aspirations for the future. We also shared life and death together, which bonded us forever as comrade in arms. We'll never forget that bond when you stand. On the day of the ambush and the battle, I really know little. By the time the battle was engaged heavily, I was knocked out by a hand grenade and didn't come to until it was over. So actually what he did in that interim, after the first 15 minutes, I have no idea. I thought I'd gone to sleep. I didn't know I'd been hit by a hand grenade until the next day. I thought I'd gone to sleep in the middle of the battle. When I woke up, it was over. There wasn't nobody there except a few VC up on top of the hill. And they didn't like me being there, so they run me off. And I run pretty fast too. But I remember that night, that very sad, rainy night, when we sat in the foxhole and we moaned the loss of two of our fellow crewmen. We had a four-man team. Me and David walked off. The other two we carried off in the body bag. We bemoaned their loss and their memories, and it was just a loss of two friends, DeVoe and Rodriguez. So, and me and David got to cart him off the hill in the body bag, and today I got to carry David's ashes. So I got to carry all three of my crew members while they were dead. The next day after that night, we had to cut a hole in the jungle. It was a sparse jungle, and we still had to cut a hole in it to winch our dead and wounded out. We winched out so many of those dead and wounded that we were not a viable fighting force after that. I think we had 49 people that was, and out of the 49, most of them had minor wounds. So we winched them out. They resupplied us, but the powers that be thought that there was too many of the enemy around for us to stay there in that area. So we had to burn our extra ammo and stuff right at dawn. And as we burnt that ammo and stuff and it started going off, we broke into 4 and 5 bad teams and escaped and evaded off that mountain. Now, once we got back to LZ course, the next day David was found out he was being considered for nomination for the Medal of Honor, and they airlifted him out to base camp, and I never saw David again. Now, he and I got in contact with each other about 10 years ago, and we talked over the phone several times a month. And he was not too happy in that time frame. You gotta realize that Vietnam sticks in your mind. Vietnam, despite its hazards and horrors of the war, was a beautiful and interesting country. We saw marvelous things. We saw elephants in their natural environment. We saw tigers. Actually, one night, a tiger tripped our trip flare and was standing in the light of that trip flare with a rabbit hanging in his mouth. I was awake. I promise you, I woke everybody up on that line. That tiger scared me more than any other thing over there. Because he was about as far as from me to you. That was scary. We saw the water buffaloes, the exotic birds, a lot of pretty birds, monkeys, snakes, a lot of snakes. One guy over there in his indoctrination of new troops, he says, in Vietnam, there's 100 different snakes. 99 of them are deadly poison, and the other one will swallow you whole. They had little snakes, and they had big old snakes. So, and we had other critters that goes along with it. Some of the pretty stuff we saw was in the jungle. Well, the jungle was very inconsiderate. Very inconsiderate. With wait a minute lines. Whoever's over there and know what a wait a minute line is. I mean, you got hung up in that, and you either rip your clothes, because it would rip your clothes and your skin, or you had to back up, because it had backward hooks, and you had to back up that way. Just about every bush and tree over there had thorns on it about that long, and they were sharp. And you get into those, you're going to puncture yourself a lot. The elephant grass with its razor sharp blades, and the ants. Folks, if you ever saw the ants over there, they built their nest in trees. And I don't know why. That nest could be on this side of the tree, and if you walked on something, there'd be 8 or 10 of them come running across that tree to jump on it. And you knew that the ants were in the area, because if you saw somebody coming out of his load-bearing equipment and coming out of his shirt and drawers and pants, you know the ants got on it, because they hurt very much. I explained about that. The country was beautiful. I mean, it was a beautiful country. We had hues of color out there in the jungle when the humidity got just right and the sun filtered through the leaves. It looked like the air took on the color itself. Pastel greens and oranges. Looked like you could just reach out and grab a handful of it. And that was some of the prettiest colors I've ever seen in my life. And the rest of us. You get on top of a ridge or the side of a mountain, and you see that rice terraces surrounded by jungle, just green and beautiful. And we got to see these things. The arid land, the agriculture type land in the coastal plain with its hedgerows and villages all around. And the South China Sea itself. Beautiful, beautiful sea. We got to swim in it one time. In the 7 months I was there. We got to swim in it one time. With all this, Vietnam got in our hearts, our bloods, and our soul, never to leave. For some of us, more than others, it was a beautiful experience. Others never could get the horror off of it, and the beauty and the interesting stuff of Vietnam, didn't play on their mind. But I know that it played on David's mind. I know that David thought of Vietnam as a nice, pretty place, an interesting place. And I'm sure that his wife soon helped those memories stay alive for most of his adult life. As we old airborne troopers say, and all you old airborne troopers over there, every time a C-130 flies over, do you look up? You look up every time you hear a prop plane fly over, you look up, and you have a blissful stirring, I believe a yearning to be aboard, to be taken back to when we were vital. Vital to ourselves, vital to our units, and vital to our country. David's vitality and contributions are part of history. But I know he had no stirrings. I hope he made it to that C-130. And I asked Mad Dog of this, save me a spot I'll be along shortly, and we'll make the next jump together. Goodbye, David Dolby. Your deeds will never be forgotten. Honor and courage, airborne all the way.